So thank you for your time. Our esteemed speakers, I'm Kenneth Izomo with the African Digital Leadership Innovation Network based in Luxembourg and with several representatives in Africa. Now this is one of the series of our webinars which we started in year 2020. And today we'll be focusing on unlocking smart tourism 4.0 in Africa. It's kind of very exciting, and I'm sure we'll try to see how Africa can really be a part of this trend. We are looking forward with our esteemed speakers today to share with us what could be the right roadmap, the sustainability roadmap for tourism, smart tourism in Africa. What could be the innovation prospects, the trends, jobs, and capacity building, research and development, and of course, the support of the policymakers. So with me today, I have our esteemed speakers from Africa and from Europe, and they will be sharing with us their experiences in this sector in different parts of the world. And with me today is Hamed Basleh, who is the MD of ICELEX in Egypt. He'll be co-moderating with me today. And of course, I have Mr. Siyabulela Esked, who is the president of the South African Chamber of Tourism and Industries based in South Africa. You're welcome, Siyabulela. Ambassador Nneka, she's not here right now, Isaac Moses. She is the destination promoter and co-founder of Goge Africa Worldwide Limited in Africa, but also with several branches in Africa, you know. And I have Marcin Jablonski, who's the Vice President, Chamber of Commerce and Exporters, Importers from Poland. And he's very versatile in this sector and several other sectors in Africa. So he'll be sharing with us some of his experience. He's very active in the African project. Thank you.
Yes, and from the January, we have also the new company settled in Tunis, Tunis, so also present.
You're welcome. And today also we welcome one of our speakers, Lena Lemomo, the founder of Safari Travels, with special coverage of East and Southern Africa, but based in Tanzania. Lena, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
From Nigeria, we are still expecting Michael Balogun, who is the co-founder, he was the founder and CEO of Tour to Nigeria. He's still here to connect with us. And Dolores Ordnois, thank you, the technical director, Any Solutions, based in Spain, and really focused on smart tourism and sustainability. And she is also a member of the co-working committee in the EU on smart tourism. Dolores, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes, thank you. And Nassel Mrabet from Tunisia, is Director of Commercial and Group's Intensive and Nice Business. Thank you for joining us with vast experience as well in this sector of tourism. You are welcome. Thank you. And we have Hamed Arowo Shegbe, who is from Nigeria, and is the founder of Swift XL, a VR and SR chapter president of the VR AR associations based in Nigeria. So he'll be sharing with us the VR AR prospects in Nigeria and in Africa. You are welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Katrina, thank you for joining us from Italy. And she's the CEO of Augmented City in Italy. Thank you so much. And also VR experts and AR. So she'll be sharing with us how this is also prospects for Africa. And Tarek Habib is a founder and CEO of Moration in France. So a satellite expert and who is developing several satellite applications to support the tourism industry. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. And we have the ADNet. It's a free membership platform. We started this in year 2020, a multi-sectorial approach, so that we want a situation whereby all sectors are covered in Africa in terms of innovation, digitalization, and all that. So it is a forum whereby we have the policymakers, the industry, the innovation hubs, entrepreneurs all coming together to have some kind of dialogue and how we could collaborate to move Africa forward. Thank you all for your time, and we now get started with our main discussions today. I'll hand over this moderation to my colleague, Hamed. Please, we'll continue from there. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Ken, and it's a pleasure actually being with you in this interesting panel, and I'm so much interested to really unlock tourism in Africa, smart tourism in Africa, and unlock the conversation and the expertise that you have. So I actually would like to start with a side conversation that we had before the panel about like actually the slow tourism, I would say, and does it really make sense to have like smart tourism in Africa? Because also after COVID or post-COVID, actually we had very interesting initiatives and trends promoting more for like slow tourism as well. So I would like actually to invite Sibalula for that to start this conversation and see, are you in favor actually of integrating digital tools across the tourism sector, and what is the trends actually over there that we see in Africa? So what do you think about that? So Sibalula, welcome.
Yeah, Sibalula. Okay, Siyabulela is a very simple name. It means thank you.
Ah, great.
Okay, when we say Siyabulela, it means we thank you. And when I say Ndiyabulela, it means I thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So I thank you in advance then.
Yeah, I've noted that technology is one of the key things that we need to pave or to shape the pathway for African countries, and it is really needed. And we need African tourism will thrive once we implement this smart tourism. Hence, I was asking the question that was asked in some discussions that I had with the people who were looking at the poster that I posted on LinkedIn and Facebook and other social networks. And the question was on that, can Africa really be a smart destination? But what we need to do is to get the powers that be to be serious about smart, about digitalization and smart tourism, and also building smart cities. And then that will open up the opportunities to ensure that Africa gets there. And because when I checked around that, okay, yeah,
Alan, can you please mute yourself, because we can hear you. So
yeah, so Africa really needs a smart tourism, and we need to start implementing it from the booking sites and also in making sure that it is accessible. Unfortunately, for now, it is really not accessible, and it's it's only companies that are, big companies that are able to do it. The SMMEs that I represent, and really, it is hard for them to get into that space. That's what I can say for now.
Yeah, because also you lead the Chamber of Commerce of Tourism and Industries actually in South Africa, right? So
Yeah.
you know the pains of the SMEs and the companies over there.
Yes, the majority of our membership is SMMEs. It's the small people on the ground. You're from the township and the rural areas, and at times you get a call that there are tourists who want to visit a certain area, and unfortunately, the person in the rural areas, the tour guide in the rural areas, even the destination that they want to visit, the guest house, there is no network in that particular area, and it gets difficult to implement and apply smart in tourism in that sense.
I see. And why do you think like this is very hard for them? Is it because of the lack of technologies, or the integration of such technologies into the business as usual?
Yeah, there's a delay in terms of integrating into the technology. It is going slowly. It's only now, like in my area, we're launching the telecommunications company that is putting up the what you call the networks that will enable people to get for free into the Wi-Fi. So in the rural areas, there's no network. It is even difficult when I go there. It is even difficult to make a call because the network is. It's not easy to get there. You must go up the mountain and stand there so that you can access the network. When I get the call, I have to run around the house, run around the village to see which is the right area, which is the right path where you can get the network. So there's a lot of work to be done just before we start implementing, especially in the villages and the townships. You can get access to the network maybe when you are in the areas such as the big cities like Johannesburg and Tshwane, the former Pretoria area, But when you go to the villages, it's really difficult.
We have lost our speaker. We have lost our... Ahmed, Ken?
Probably, I don't know. So I think we'll take the next speaker now. Arik, you would like to share with us your applications, and so you're welcome, Arik. Ahmed? Okay, Arik is going to share with us. Thank you, Shiabuleli, for your presentation. We really appreciate your contribution. We'll come back to you during the questions and answers session. And now we take on Tarek Habib. You're welcome. Thank you.
Great.
Ahmed.
Thank you very much. I've prepared some slides. I don't know if
you can share, please. You have
I can share them.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me do this then. It should work. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
No. Okay.
No. Wait, this is not the right mode. So let me stay in this sharing. So thank you very much for having me. I'll be talking to you about some ideas of what we do at Murmuration. So we are a company based in, so we are an SME, because this was mentioned earlier, that is based in the southwest area of France, in the city of Toulouse. We have created the company 4 years ago now. I'm an aerospace engineer, had the chance before to work for the French Space Agency, European Space Agency, and so on. And then we thought that everything that is being developed for these agencies and the satellites that are available can be a very powerful tool to support tourism. Let me share with you why, and actually the timing of the discussion today is quite timely, because it's we have this COP27 that's happening in my my home country, Egypt, actually, because I'm of Egyptian origin. And basically, the environment will be more and more a factor, a decisive factor, when it comes to all of our industries, and tourism being an activity that is dependent, I would say, of many others, like transportation, security, infrastructure, etc. It will definitely be impacted by this environmental questions. In Africa, even more, as I believe, at least, because we will get, I'm not saying today, but in the next 5 or 6 years, for example, this equilibrium between exploitation of natural areas and other economic activity, be it tourism or urbanization, industry, you name it, will become more and more frequent. Like, what should we do with the natural areas that we have? Africa being, as was mentioned earlier, the continent of tomorrow. I think it's really the this is where all the future activities will grow. So should we like work on preserving the natural areas and making them available for activities like nature tourism, for example, slow tourism, as was mentioned by Ahmed Wastawi earlier, or should we like cut part of them to cater for the increase in the population and the increase on demand, for example, when it comes to agriculture, industry, or whatever. So all these types of trade-offs will be questions for the near future, given the sustainability and the climate urgency that we will have. So what we're trying to do at Murmuration is really to provide some tools to quantify when we talk about environment. Okay, so that's fine, but how do we quantify the environmental state? How can we quantify the basically the services that are provided by the environment, and to be able to make these famous trade-offs that I talked about earlier. So it's something that lies between the 3 pillars of sustainability that are environment, social, and economic benefits, and how to find the right spot between the 3 of them to make the activity sustainable. What we do basically is that we split the environment into 5 quantities. So that's water, air, biodiversity, urbanization, human activities. And then we study the territory's environmental state, and we also study the anthropogenic impact. So that's the human activities impact on this environment, and we correlate both of them, and we say, okay, if you continue putting pressure on this environmental spot or this natural spot, this is what will happen in the future. So we do, we have 3 categories of services, I would say, things that are almost automatic. So that's the indicator level, the basic modules, time-based or combined modules, and then we do simulation modules. So based on the climatic scenarios, what would happen in the future for a specific area. We were talking earlier about, for example, technological infrastructure. We're talking also about the lack, for example, of some telecommunication infrastructure in given areas and so on. The advantage of our approach is that we are relying on satellite data that are available everywhere on the globe. So we are able to provide these services everywhere on the globe, based on instruments that are the same. When you talk about the natural area in Europe, South America, Africa, it will be always the same methodology. The data is thus comparable, and then the approach can be standardized. I'll give you just a couple of examples of what we do, because all of these concepts are fine, but okay, what does this mean in real life? So there are actually activities that are based on operational activities that rely on these services, like, for example, the work that we're doing for the Ministry of Tourism in Malta. So here, for example, the idea was to quantify the pressure on nature. So we have the capacity to monitor the vegetation, its health, its evolution over time, because also this is something, that's worth mentioning. Relying on satellite data is a magnificent time machine, I would say, because we have archives that can go back, in some cases 30 years back, for example, to see how the area evolved in the past, and then play scenarios in the future to say how it will evolve. So we check, for example, the vegetation areas, if they were transformed, what is its health, and what is the impact of a given, for example, tourism infrastructure in the area, be it a hotel, a restaurant, park, or whatever. And then compute statistics, like what is the average distance to a recreational area? Did this have an impact on the, for example, health of the population, etc., etc. So it can be a start of a very deep analysis of how the society at large benefited from these services. We also support the Ministry of Tourism of Malta, for example, report regarding the SDGs. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals as well, to follow the progress towards the achievements of the SDGs. Here is just one of the example of the tool that we developed for them, and where it's actually very focused on the tourism activity and how it contributed positively or negatively to the life on land SDG, for example. Another example is air quality, for example, here. And this is something that actually changes on a daily basis. So we have measurements globally regarding air quality every 6 hours. So here we can correlate directly, for example, the visits, the number of tourists, for example, based on GSM data or mobile data, and what was the impact on the air quality. So that here, for example, that's work we did for the French government on an area in the region of the Alps, to see, okay, whether the peak of visitation of this specific spot had an impact on the air quality in the area or not. Finally, just these really are examples, because now we've been operating, as I mentioned, for 4 years now, and we have scores of examples. And if you're interested, just don't hesitate to reach out. I will provide you with this material or other stuff that we can talk about. But I want to close on this example because it illustrates this benchmarking aspect. So this is work that we did for the European Travel Commission, where we did a benchmark between 33 European cities to understand the dynamics of tourism, their impact on air quality, and before, during, and after the COVID crisis. So it's like sort of a bit barbaric to show it like this, but just to make it simple to read, it's really, if you have the light blue spot circle at the left and the dark blue on the right, this means that the city is going in the right direction, meaning that there is a continuous improvement of the air quality on this city. But again, this is just to illustrate this capacity to do benchmarking, to adopt common standards between different destinations and so on. So that's it for me. I'm happy to take questions, discussions, as you like.
That's quite interesting, Tariq. And I didn't know that you're from Egypt as well. So yeah. What I found also interesting among the many insights that you're sharing as well is basically how the integration of these kind of sustainability aspects into the immersive technologies, I would say. And this is a perspective that whenever we speak about like high tech and deep tech as well, we normally don't speak about sustainability. And if we speak for the sake of raising funds.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually one of the points that we try to focus on, is that we're really trying to make something useful and to make it available for decision makers, and not something like a new technological gadget or something like that. So yeah, I understand the comments regarding immersive technology.
Thanks a lot.
I'm just a little bit curious.
Absolutely.
Are you providing data to any of these tourism players already?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, it's really on the institutional side. So I've shown some examples for the Malta Tourism Authority, for example, the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes tourism actors, European Travel Commission, and so on. So all of these are pure tourism players, and then we are providing now, I think you started to see, for example, if you go to booking.com, when you go to a specific accommodation, now you're starting to see some indicators regarding the sustainability of the place. The problem is that all of this is really a declaration from the people, from the host, basically, of this accommodation. And what we're doing now is that we are partnering with a number of portals to provide the sustainability information, but coming from observation. So it's not a declaration from the owner, because he has all the he would definitely want to say some positive things regarding sustainability, but it's always better to have an external look on that. So we're partnering with a number of small travel portals. So it's coming towards you, I would say, to provide this information from an observation area. We are also operating a general public website. So it's a travel website that is called flokeo.com. That is dedicated for the general public, and where you find this. So it's your regular travel website. But it's on each accommodation page, you have a map showing just 4 very simple indicators, just to show you, okay, if you want to go to this area, this is the state of the environment in this place. So this way we are addressing basically the institutional part with the examples that I've shown you here, but also from business part, travel agencies, hotels, etc., through integration of the sustainability, either in flokeo.com, so that's FLOCKEO.com, or providing this data to active portals in the domain.
Very interesting. Would have loved to throw more questions, but I know that you have other questions as well. But thanks a lot, Tariq.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be part of this panel. Thank you.
Our pleasure. I'll actually move from Tariq, France, Egypt, and Malta as well, like to Dolores in Spain, because what was mentioned here is very interesting. And I know that you are into smart tourism and sustainability. So again, the combination between smart and sustainable is not always easy to manage or to combine properly, because sometimes smartness takes over sustainability, or this is the most general case as well. So my question is basically, how do you do strategic impact assessment for tourism initiatives in a way that you ensure that they are sustainable? So could you elaborate on that more? So Doris, welcome.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much, Kenneth, for the invitation. I think the panel is really interesting, and we are discussing on basic things which are fundamental. So just to put you a little bit on context, I started 25 years ago in one of the most active tourism destination in the Balearic Islands. I'm located in Mallorca, so 1 million inhabitants, 60 million tourists. So you can imagine how important is tourism for us. But at the same time, we started defining and working in this concept of sustainability, because we came from the Arbor chart. We started working in the local Agenda 21, and there were starting all this movement that it seems that sustainability is a new word from the 21st century, but that is something that is coming for longer than 30 years ago. So, and then it arrived the technology. So technology is just appearing, and the technology is making a kind of revolution, but we have to understand technology as a tool that, in our case, the digital solutions are obsolete in 2-3 years. So technology is evolving all the time. What is important is to have a clear strategy, what we want to be as a destination. And this is the first assessment, the first thing that we do when we start working with the municipalities. So we're working in different networks all over Europe, but we work also in Asia and South America. And the first important thing is to have very clear what we want to do as a tourist destination, which is the main target that we have, which is the amount of tourists that we want to receive, how we want to plan the tourism activity, which are the products and services that we want to offer. And then we can start in setting all these infrastructures. Of course, the infrastructures in a location are very important, as it is security. So those are pillars, because if the destination is not secure, the people don't feel comfortable going there. If we don't have infrastructure, it's very complicated to reach the destination in terms of connectivity. So for us as an island, with the plane, but with others, with roads, trains, or whatever. So there are some basic blocks that should be there in order to promote the activity. But it has been mentioned before for COVID and how the thing had changed and this slow tourism and something like that. That was something that we thought in the Balearics was going to be a reality. But in 2019, we had 16 million tourists. In 2022, we're having 17 million tourists. So this sustainability, human pressure, or whatever, we completely forgot it. And we are receiving a lot of people that at the end, they are having a lot of impact in the management of resources, in the human pressure in our environment, but also in the quality of life of people. So the first thing, it is very important to define the strategy, to have a clear planning, what we want to do in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, in the short and also medium long term, because the infrastructures are not going to be built in one day. So it is important to define how we want to grow. And technologies are important, but at the same time, and we are working with data, and we are setting at the level of the European Union, the European data space for tourism, and we are now starting working in this data sharing economy in which everybody is producing data. Although you don't have real sound digital infrastructures, at the end, the tourists that are visiting your destinations are using digital solutions. And this is something that you have to take advantage of it, because the people are already coming to your destinations with tablets, mobiles, and so on. And in the time they are in your destination, or when they come back to their place, they are going to share all the souvenirs or all the experience that they had in your destination. And this is very important, because at the end, what we are learning, and we are coming from a mass tourism destination, which is reinventing all the time the tourism model in order to continue being attractive for keeping the tourists coming to our island, is that every time more, the tourists are requesting for real experiences. So something that makes them to feel satisfied, something that makes that their curiosity is completely fulfilled, that they are surprised by the environment, by the people, by the gastronomy, by the culture, and so on. So they don't want these park attractions that can be found with the same shops in the big roads, that is completely the same, with the same food and the same stores that are all over the world. They want something that is completely different. And you have a great opportunity there. So you have to manage your destinations in a way that you offer unique experiences. And of course, technology is going to help you to promote and to make them known and so on. But at the same time, you have a very good product to be offered. And this is the most important thing. So I don't want to be long, because for me, what is important is to generate this discussion, because I'm listening very nice presentations, but without a good strategy in which all the actors, public and private actors, are working together. So from the local destination, the regional, the national, to the very small SMEs, and we are an SME, and in Spain, 85% of the tourism ecosystem is composed by SMEs, are working together with the big ones, with the big companies, with the hotel chains, with the telcos, and wherever. It would be impossible to generate a nice destination, because it's not just the idea of being smart by having a lot of technology, but the fact of being intelligent when deciding which is going to be the future for our destination. And the future for our destination is the future for our residents, for the local people that are living in these places. And this is very important because in some part, we forgot that the tourism destination is also addressed to the people living in this area. So you have seen it, and this has been the cause of the tourismophobia that has been created some problems in cities as Barcelona. You have listened and read a lot about that. And this is something that we are facing in a lot of destinations. So you have to avoid this and to generate balances. And to generate balances, you have to speak. And who are the main actors that have to speak? The Chamber of Commerce are fundamental, the tourism operators, the SMEs, the citizens, the public administrations. How can you generate some discussions groups, local groups, in which then you give entry to external experts, because it's always interesting to listen what's happening in other destinations and which were the mistakes that you don't want to make again. And this is my intervention. So, but I really would like to change with all of you because I think you are contributing with very nice insights.
These are very beautiful insights, Dolores, and I think you draw our attention as well that this requires like a combination of efforts or collective efforts from everyone. And you mentioned also few like stakeholders that should be involved. I have a question for you. So where should it start actually? Because should it start like top down, like the government sets the agenda and the strategy, and then it goes all the way till the local level, or bottom up, or what is the starting point? Because this is also important when we try to learn from what's happening in different places in the world as well.
Yeah, first we have to check who has the tourism competencies, because this is in each country, the tourism competencies are at different levels. So for example, in Spain, so we have our national ministry, but the national ministry has no competencies on promotion and ordination of the tourism activity. Then we go to the regional level, and the regional level in Spain, in some cases, they have the competencies or not. But then, for example, in the Balearic Islands, in the islands, the competencies in tourism are at the level of each island. So the first thing is to go, who has the competencies and which is the strategy? And for sure, you will have some organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, clusters, tourism operators, tourism guides, hotels federation, or wherever. And it should be created a kind of group of people that have to define together how is going to be the future, because it cannot be only politicians. So politicians in Spain, and I think in Europe in general, they change every 4 years. They cannot decide the future of a destination. So it should be together with all the political parties, and this is something that we did at the level of the island of Mallorca. We put all the political parties together, right, left, extreme left, environmentalists, and so on, all together. And we are discussing together how we want the future of the islands. And this is the same. And then we have to invite all the groups, because one group it will be more on sustainability, other group will be more on digital solutions, one will be more on one thing than another. So we have to start generating the agreements. And from that, start taking small decisions in terms of promotion, because at the end, all the actors that are at the level of the destination, at the end, we are promoters of our destination. We are selling our destination when we go to the events, when we are traveling, when we speak about our places. So, and this is important that we have a common voice, and we got a common agreement how we want to sell our destination. Of course, at the end, we are communicating it, and the social networks and the journalists and so on, those are also important for them to understand how this destination is going to be promoted. And it's a matter to generate agreements. So, and it depends. I don't know. It's a pity because I don't know exactly which destination, but it is very important to push for it and to have someone that is having the lead. In some destinations, it's going to be the public administration. In some destination, it's going to be the private sector, because at the end, this is a matter of people. And we have to find which are we call it in a project, which are the local heroes. Which are those people that at the level of the territory have the energy and passion to head the destination to be transformed.
Interesting. Thanks a lot, Dolores. That's very insightful. Thank you. I will actually call upon Michael. if you can tell us more about how is it in Nigeria, and also how to promote a hybrid production of local tour content in both like the local and international languages, especially like in Africa. Also, you have many languages that are not properly used among the production of touristic destinations, I would say. So how can we promote for this such production, hybrid production?
Hi, hello, and good morning, everybody.
Yes,
My
good morning.
name is Michael Balogun. I'm the CEO of Toto Nigeria, a multi-award-winning domestic promoter of tourism in Nigeria. We showcase the best destinations in Nigeria, and as well, you know, we promote the things the rest of the world don't even hear or see about Nigeria. So it's a pleasure being among, let me say, the gurus of tourism in around the world. And back to your question, Ahmed, you know, I'll tell you a little story about how people perceived Nigeria during the era of the tourism, you know, build up from 1977, which was the first ever Festival of Art and Culture, which by our luck is going to be taking place again, promoting that same space in the next couple of days with the UNWTO. They're having this event in Nigeria, being the first of its kind, and it's going to take place in the same destination we had our first ever, growing up for me, the tourist attraction with the Festival of Art and Culture. So the journey so far has been good. And, you know, those days when we thought about tourism, it has to be with going to the brick mortar wall, to places like the Thomas Cook office to get a huge brochure and flip through looking for destinations and, you know, trying to guess where you might end up traveling to. But thankfully, with technology now, a lot of people, millions around the world, can just click on their phone and get to virtually travel that destination. So from that, you know, journey, from the days of getting into physical mortar bricks offices to check destination with your travel agent, to the ones that you can comfortably do from the comfort of your home, we can see technology has really come to play in terms of, you know, tourism and talking about the stories of different countries. I've virtually gone on tours in China. I've seen the Great Walls. I've had to swim with dolphins in Maldives or whatever destination that you can imagine. So for us in Nigeria, we've started talking about destinations using tourism with technology as well. And a lot of times now, people get to tell you, oh, we never thought Nigeria had this kind of destination because they didn't see that much with what was being projected. You don't go on CNN every day to see somewhere in Nigeria talking about tourism like the way the Dubai's, Turkey, Morocco, and the rest of the world, you know, spend money advertising. But the little we've done with technology has been impactful because we've taken over some of the key media platforms to tell the story of our destinations in Nigeria. And during the COVID, we discovered that a lot of businesses, including the tourism sector, was highly affected. Let's even say the tourism space, the hospitality, the travel was the most affected part of the COVID era and all that. And then we thought about it. This is the best time to sell destinations when people can't physically travel. The world was locked down. And then we started thinking about using technology to promote these places. We had places like South Africa still showcasing the safari, you know, with live streaming. And then we started developing concepts around that we could virtually travel Nigeria without you physically getting on a plane, in terms of even cutting the cost of carbon emission, your carbon footprint, saves you money, tickets, and all the COVID stress tests and all that. And then, you know, we started working with other partners to see how we can tell this story using technology, from virtual reality to augmented reality. And I think really that's the way the world should go now. From the click of a button, you can virtually, practically do everything that a physical tourist might not even get to do. But the only difference is you might not be physically present. You might not even get to smell the gardens or feel the ocean waves in your face. But virtually, you get to see practically everything you really want to explore. So for us in Nigeria, we've been using technology so far to champion the cause of promoting the destinations. We've had physical tours. And the good thing about the technology we've been working on, the virtual reality and the augmented reality, seems to be like a teaser for a lot of travelers. In the last 2 months, we've had Dubai roadshow in Nigeria. We've had South Africa do their roadshow. We've had some Americans show up because of what they saw online, or somebody tagged a destination in Nigeria, and they've come. Even though with the security challenges that we can't deny, we've been having travel advisories from different countries, saying Nigeria is not safe to come and all that. But we've been lucky to have international arrivals, people still coming in. And I keep saying, people don't buy what you don't sell to them. If we don't show them the positive side of our country, I don't think the United Nations World Tourism Organization will want to have an event in a place quoted to be unsafe. I don't think they want to bring their assets, their money into that space. And as long as international flights land in Nigeria, I don't think tourism is going to be over for now. Thank you very much.
That's very interesting, Michael. Thanks a lot for these insights. I would like actually to build on what you're saying, because Liko, if you allow me to call you Liko, based on the Zoom name, was mentioning in the beginning of this call that basically SMEs are struggling because of the integration of such technologies, right? And you're bringing another perspective and saying that, no, this is actually part of the future and actually part of the current. And we started using that in Nigeria, right? So what's your take on that? Do you think the lack of internet connectivity is a challenge for SMEs to take over, or how is it for you? How do you overcome this actually struggle as well?
Well, for us, we're looking at partnership with the government. We're doing partnership with other organizations outside the country. We have Ahmed here, is one of the few people we are trying to work with in the virtual reality space, XR, and all the augmented reality. But I would say our challenge is not even the infrastructure. It is more of funding. To build a virtual reality space, augmented reality, it is not something an SME should just take upon. It should be something the government should be a part of. Like Dolores, if I pronounce it well, was saying the other time, I got back recently from Netherlands. I had something to do with the Nigerian embassy in Netherlands, in The Hague. And I had a discussion with a woman. She's one of the senior consultants with Avia Reps. And one thing I got back from what she said was just the same thing Dolores was saying. Until we use this thing called the Dutch Diamond approach, we can't really achieve more. And the Dutch Diamond approach brings everybody to the table: stakeholders, researchers, universities, NGOs, investors. But if you put it like, oh, it's just the government's duty, they might never get it done, because technically speaking, the Nigerian government still don't understand the business of tourism. They don't see it as a low-hanging fruit. We are still blinded by our oil and gas, while the rest of the world are cashing out on tourism. Look at Gambia, look at Kenya. There are some countries in Africa that are landlocked, and they're making huge, capital flights from other countries because that's all they sell. So until we see tourism in that aspect, that it's a business that can be invested in, we shouldn't stop at just the fintech and all that. There is so much space for EU, for the American government, UN to come and participate. Look at the world around us is getting all, choked up with security challenges, mass shooting in America, this in that place, land encroachment, desertification and all that. But with the technology we have available, we might not even have to travel to China to visit the wall of China. You can virtually travel this, and we're not saying this is going to take over the physical tours. It can never. That human interaction will still be the key factor. People want to meet people. They want to talk. They want to share a drink at a pub. So what we're saying is, if with the right funding, this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened within the continent of Africa, selling all the destinations virtually. Schools abroad don't even have to come on educational tours. You can be in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, and Dubai has done it. we have a template that we can copy. Dubai has the virtual reality of their destinations. So just 20 minutes with their headgear during their head show, you want to break your piggy bank, just buy a ticket and get on the next plane to visit because of what you've seen. And it's in real time as well. So this is what I'm saying. It is not something that it is impossible. It is the future, and the world and the leaders in Africa need to listen to this, that this is the way to go forward from here. Thank you.
That's a clear, strong call to action. Thanks a lot, Michael. I would actually build on that and go to back to Europe because it's what you're saying is interesting, but also sometimes I feel that we are putting so much pressure on the continent, trying to make it like very, very high tech, which is not the case internationally sometimes. So I remember, Katrina, you were mentioning something before the panel that when we speak about like smart and sustainable tourism destinations or cities, actually there are no much actually internationally, right? But there are few who are doing very well. And I would like to hear from you about your experience in like maybe sharing a case study or two about what's happening in Europe, especially in the usage and integration of immersive technologies in smart tourism. So Katrina, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. I am actually a tech person, let's say. We are a technological company, but me personally, I am engaged in tourism sector as a part of Confindustria. Confindustria, it's biggest organization, Italian organization of private companies and business. So we have the sector of digital tourism, and I'm a member of this sector, and actually it was my initiative to connect, let's say, tourism with digital sector of Confindustria in Puglia. So just in few slides, just a second, I will share my screen. Sure. Do you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So last week, I was in Spain, in Sevilla. There was a wonderful summit there, a digital summit. And actually, it was very nice to be there in person because I could see what exactly we do in Europe, what exactly we do in the world regarding digitalization. And to be honest, of course, during presentations, we are very advanced. Everybody of us is very digital. We understand how to do it. We blame politicians. We do something. We are so great. But then when we talk with persons on the booth, we understand better the situation. So actually everywhere is the same situation. Politicians do their things. They care about only business that is daily business, and everything depends on people. As Dolores said previously, everything depends on initiative. And it's useless to blame somebody. It's better to sit and organize something and to see what kind of contribution each of us can bring to the table. In Italy, you know, Italy, and I'm from the south of Italy, we are very good with tourism. But believe me, we don't have too much support of the state. And actually, we have even fundings, but we don't know how to use them carefully and correctly. I think it's the same problem everywhere, and in Spain, in France, everywhere. So, but we don't care because we care about our territory, we care about valorization of our culture, and actually we care about young generations that unfortunately during this sad period of COVID, they lost interest to history, to culture, and to real volumes of life, let's say. So I just wanted to say a few words about the main trends, but I think for everybody, for the whole world, they are the same. So digitalization, because everybody talks about it, but we still have done few things about digitalization, I mean, in the world. About sustainability, it's very good that we started to talk about it, because at least in Europe, and I suppose in Africa, we should care a lot about green tourism, about careful tourism, not to kill the nature. Because, for example, in Europe, in Italy, we see how tourism kills cities. So after a festival in Venice, the city is dirty. So the city is destroyed, let's say. So we know stories about Olympic Games. Of course, Olympic Games brings a lot of money to the state, but for the territory, sometimes it's not very sustainable strategy to have such kind of games, especially for the sea, for nature, for natural parks. We should think about sustainability all the time. And of course, personalization of the tourism instead of group tourism, instead of everything. So with new technologies, we try to find a new way to impress tourists, because it's very important to build the bridge between the facts they remember and about the territory they will maybe think about again, and they will turn back again to the country then after. So actually that's what we do with immersive technology, with some kind of other new approaches. Main approaches for Italy right now is like data analytics, but I suppose for Africa it's just the same. Unfortunately, we don't have a mutual system of analytics in Italy. We still stay at the very beginning, and each region tries to collect somehow analytics. We work with immersive technologies because it's accessible right now. It's the best way to attract tourists and promote in a new way, hype way, let's say, the territory. And of course, we use a blockchain just to protect some kind of private things, some private content for the owners of this content. So what exactly we do with Augmented City? I will show you a small video. I don't know if you see it. Yes. Do you see it?
It's not working yet, right? Now we see the, yeah.
Maybe something is wrong with the connection. Well, I don't know what's happened. We are so digital that even with network in Italy. So I've heard that you have some problems with Africa. In Africa with network and 5G, we are in Italy and we have the same problems. So actually these problems are everywhere. It depends how you look at this problem. Still it's no. Oh yeah. Here we are. Do you see it?
Yes.
Oh, so that's the example actually of a small, really small town in South Italy that have very small territory of the center of the city. So they even didn't know how to promote in a better way this territory, because to talk about it, to write down something, it doesn't work anymore. So they decided to let's say decorate the whole city, the whole town, small town of Malfetta, with some kind of content in augmented reality that actually attracts as young generation as adults. And via this content, you can connect the history of the town with some kind of information. So you can just arouse some interest to the history of the city, the town. Just a second. Oops. That's what we do. We actually are providers of some kind of visual positioning system to the municipalities and to the territories. We have digital spots, digital twins in 200 cities of the world. And we give possibility to private sector, to private companies, to artists, to organizations that manage tourism content to play with augmented reality, to demonstrate in a new dimension every content they would like to share with, even without touching any surface of a building. Because, you know, in Italy, we have a problem. We cannot touch the walls, the ancient walls of buildings, or let's say, some kind of surfaces. So about sustainability all the time we're talking about. And that's why augmented reality helps to use anyway the spaces, digital spaces, and put some content everywhere we want. For example, this one is another video which will show you how we Oh, I'm so sorry about this problem with.
Yeah, if it's not working as well, you can drop the link and we can see it later.
Yes, I will do it. Actually, here in the video, then I will send you later the link. You can see the square in the center of the city. And with such kind of frames, we can put some kind of advertising of any brands, local brands. We can put any 3D character that can, the character can be animated. It can tell some kind of story. So it's some kind of storytelling in AR, and that's what we do. The other case that is quite interesting, thanks God I didn't put the video here. We launched the possibility for galleries to make the gallery or showroom in every space of the city, indoor or outdoor. So as you know, galleries, they need some kind of attraction, and they need to use the moment, the exact inspiration of a customer to sell the piece of art, let's say. But sometimes it's difficult to, for example, when we talk about 3D art, it's difficult to demonstrate it. And usual websites, they don't work actually when we see everything on the platform, because we cannot see the real art, the real model of the art. That's why we give possibility to the galleries of 3D art to place in augmented reality the items they would like to sell, and we give the possibility to buy them exactly during the auction or event. So the deal is in real time, and even the owner, the new owner of an item can see how the name was changed via the instruments of blockchain, let's say. Well, it's a new possibility to use different spaces in the city, in a city scale, as well as indoors, to make exhibition, to use new impressions and emotions of potential customers. So actually, that's what we do, and I hope it will be helpful for Africa. And I would just like to emphasize that it's very important to start building the strategy according the exact destination. So it's useless to talk generally about digital tourism or whatever if you don't have the exact case of the destination. And every time, everything depends on people who work and the passion they have, if they want to build something or if they don't want to build something. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Katharina, for also sharing these kind of very practical cases of what happened in Italy as well. That's interesting. Thank you. I would move actually to also to ask Lina about an interesting question, because what Katharina was mentioning here was very important, because you also brought a perspective about like the responsible tourism and conscious tourism, because tourism is always have like these kind of double-sided like weapon or like side effects as well. So how can we actually define an inclusive smart tour like for sustainability roadmap for Africa as well? I don't know, Lina, can you jump in and share your insights from Tanzania, especially like taking into account the nature, like the urban and remote natures of different destinations as well. So Lina.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Alena Lemomo, and I'm the founder of Msafiri Travels in Tanzania. And we have a small camp also in one of the national park, actually the biggest park in Africa, Nyerere National Park. And I'm also the founder of Intra-Africa Tourism Alliance, which was actually founded during COVID. COVID had some positive things, and one of them was the formation of Intra-African Tourism Alliance, which, if you allow me 2 minutes just to tell you about it. So can I talk about it for 2 minutes or less?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. So Intra-Africa Tourism Alliance was actually founded in August 2020. And this was at the time when we were, for those of us in tourism, at one moment I thought we'd become Zoomers, the children of Zoom, because day in, day out, we're in a Zoom meeting for this, Zoom meeting for that. And I came to realize that these Zoom meetings only centered on how we're going to get European tourists back, the European agents back. I honestly can't recall attending a Zoom meeting which was addressing how to get African tourists in the continent and how to get African agents within the continent. So I gathered a few of my friends from across the continent, one from Nigeria, one from Namibia, and I said, I have this idea, and they said, hey, let's do it, let's push it. And I believe we held the first Zoom virtual trade fair in August 2020. It was crude, forgive us, we were not tech savvy at that time, but we held the first Zoom trade fair during COVID. And what did we do? We had 11 countries. Michael was there as well. And each country presented what, like we are doing right now. Each operator came with slides to show the unique parts of their country. And we all agree that not the known parts of the country, things that you don't know about, things that the public doesn't know. And we invited the public, and we had over 140 people from across the continent who attended this 3-day event. It was actually a 3-day fair. And it was amazing to learn things, even myself as a tour operator didn't exist in some of these other countries. And at the end of the 3-day show, one thing stood out from the audience. We don't have African potential tourists. We don't have enough information to travel across the continent. So this is how Intra-African Tourism was born. Intra-Africa Tourism Alliance was born. We're now a strong member of a strong membership of 140 operators and other stakeholders. And we're hoping to be, legalized in the couple coming of months, hopefully by January. And then the idea is actually to promote tourism in Africa for Africans, by Africans, and from the diaspora. We want to change the numbers of Africans traveling within the continent. We want to change the perception that Africans don't prefer to travel within Africa. As I said earlier, most of them said to us they didn't have information. And true to ourselves, when we each looked at our brochure, the simplest medium of communication between our tourist supplier, we realized that, including my own brochure, I didn't even have Africans on my brochure. All my brochures had other races except an African-looking tourist on my brochure. So you can see that from the first communication, which is your brochure, usually, you don't even have a representation. So this is how we came into being. So yeah, so that's in a nutshell is the short introduction of inter-African tourism. And from Safari, we deal in safaris within Southern Tanzania and Southern Africa. We believe, again, going into the off the beaten routes. So if I can come back to my topic, I believe that including smart tourism can be sustainable, and it has a big future of sustainability. And one of my reasoning is because Africa has two positives going for her. One, we have the youngest population in the world. Secondly, we have the fastest growing mobile connectivity in the world. So what does it mean? If you Google right now, it's stated that there are 500 million smartphones across Africa. So if we have 500 million smartphones across Africa, that means we have a chance of growing in tourism. What do we need to be sustainable? I believe that one, accessibility is important, but we also must be realistic that as, so I'm sorry if I cannot pronounce your name very well, Mr. Thank you, I think I'll call you that earlier. I forgot, Mr. Sijabule, I think that's what he said earlier. Yeah. That, I'm sorry if I butchered his name. We don't have connectivity across Sijabulela. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Connectivity in rural areas is one thing. But then again, you find that there is a way that people kind of use their technology to suit them at these times. For example, here in Tanzania, in the rural areas, we might not have 4G. We now have rolled out 5G in the cities. But then you still find that in the rural area, people are using Edge, which is the lowest form of connectivity. But again, you find that most people still have WhatsApp. So you will find that this is an on-off application for people in the rural areas. What they do is their WhatsApp is not necessarily on all the time. So they'll find a small bundle, buy a few bundles that they need, upload their photos that they need on the status, and off it goes. He might be offline, but when I go to their status later, within 24 hours, because usually the WhatsApp, for example, lasts for 24 hours, I can still be able to see what the person has posted in the last 24 hours. So there are ways of trying to see how can we be in the mode as technology is trying to catch up. I also believe that sustainability comes in with creativity. And this is one thing that I've been talking to some of my members during the group sessions, that we as a people in the industry, we've got to look at creative ways of expanding tourism. So how do we do this? Instead of me only running Kilimanjaro, Zanzibar, Serengeti, I should also look at some creative areas, home hospitality, cultural heritages. Yeah, these are things that can help the sustainability grow. This is to be able to keep that sustainability as well. The kind of different products that we create will have that tourism being sustainable in a longer future and attract along a bigger, a much bigger crowd. Digitalization, as I said earlier, is an ongoing process. But as I said, everybody has WhatsApp these days, everybody has Facebook, everybody has Instagram. So you find that all these technologies are actually Tanzania, even, sorry if I'm bragging a lot about Tanzania, but within East Africa, I think Tanzania has the highest number of cellular net phone connections in East Africa. Even the lowest of the, how can I say this? The lower category employees, even like a gardener in Tanzania, we still have his WhatsApp, we still have his internet connection, simply because internet connection in Tanzania is also very affordable. So accessibility in terms of pricing is also very important. When I come back to the industry, what I've also seen is that you've got the bigger players, for example, have these big marketing companies that make representation in Europe. So how can the smaller SMEs or SMMEs, be able to, how can they be able to, what is the right word? Be competitive. But what I've seen in some markets is they've formed groups. Actually, this is a Namibian example, where a small group of tour operators, these are small people with 5 rooms, 6 rooms, because one of the biggest challenges in Namibia is also accessibility. Network connection is really very bad. So what they've done is they created a marketing company, and these 5 or 10 small lodges have one representation in the city who's doing things on their behalf, who's doing their marketing on their behalf. So he goes back to the lodges maybe once or twice a month, takes good photos, takes good videos, and then he comes back to the city and he uploads and he's marketing these agents. So they're actually in real time with the product, with the right people, but they're not necessarily the ones doing it. They got a small company or a small corporation to do it for them. So I believe that for tourism, smart tourism to be sustainable, we need accessibility, digitalization, and creativity. I hope that was a good,
beautifully shared, actually. And I get like many insights from what you're mentioning, and I will connect what you were mentioning with what Katrina was mentioning earlier as well, about like problems are problems because this is the way we see them. But sometimes if we change our perspectives, actually, we can get them as opportunities. And what you were mentioning here, Lina, was very interesting, because I think sometimes we see these problems while copying blindly the models of smart tourism or the integration of immersive technologies or high tech into communities that might not be, I wouldn't say ready for them, but like might not fit for them. So there are technologies that fit to such communities, and we have seen it like in different innovations, like even outside of the tourism sector, like M-Pesa, and how we manage it instead of relying on smartphones or like aggressive kind of high tech. They're relying on a USSD base, and now they are still operating for like more than 10 years, right? So it's how actually you think about what is best for the local communities, and how actually we can take these kind of innovations forward as well.
Yeah, it's actually what you're saying is very true. Being creative to suit what is us or what is around us. And as you said, M-Pesa is an amazing example of being creative. And I think M-Pesa is now catching up across the world. People actually copying M-Pesa. But now when you look at it here in Tanzania and East Africa in general, we've become a moneyless, a cashless society. Europeans have cashless society in terms of card. When most of my tourists come and I tell them we're cashless and I'm using money on my phone, the first question is how? It's not possible. How do you get money in your phone? So, this has really suited us very well. So even the smallest trader anywhere in East Africa has access to money and access to small loans as well. Because this mobile application, M-Pesa, especially in Kenya and Tanzania, they give loans up to almost $100, which is not, you don't need any security. It's just your line and the fact that you're a dedicated user of that phone. So that in itself has really helped people. Thank you.
That's true. Thanks a lot, Lina. I will actually call upon Marcin, because Marcin is actually the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce in Poland. And also, Marcin, I know that you had different touch points with many countries across the African continent. So I'll ask you a difficult question if you're ready for it. So basically, we have been speaking about the smart tourism ecosystem and that it's not easy actually to build like a comprehensive strategy. It needs the collective efforts. So my question is basically, what is the best approach, if there's any best approach, to reach this kind of consensus between government, host communities, local operators, and in actually the engagement of such smart tourism idea or movement, I would say?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Yes, I'm the Vice President of Chamber of Commerce Exporters and Importers located in Poland, but I have a lot of experience working in North Africa and West Africa. So I'm since 2012. I spent 7 months in Cairo, in Zamalek. So it's my experience, the Egyptians. Now I am located also in Tunisia and Cote d'Ivoire. So I'm not very familiar with not very familiar. I'm not immersed in tourism, but I am the observer of the lot of processes running in Europe and either in Africa, and I really want to thank all of you for your contribution. It was really create a very rich perspective of different point of view. And my experience, I try to a little bit get back to to Dolores and the Kathy, because I think this is from my point of view, this is the problem, the huge problem of that traditional sector, which is the tourism, which faced the huge transition, huge impact of the technology. And this is that I work with different sectors, and also I was also the member of supervisory board of the company dealing with the augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, especially for the tech purpose. And what I see is a huge problem of the understanding of that usability and the way of using the technology to improve the traditional sectors. This is the first thing. So on one hand, the idea of the development of tourism is to bringing more money into the country. So for Africa, it means let's bring as many tourists as possible, because they will bring the money and they will create that, they will put the contribution to our GDP. Yeah. So we see in Tunisia, in Egypt, there's like Marsalam, other, this places I don't want to be. On the other hand, this is the question of the sustainability and the impact of the environment. We say, okay, we use the digital solutions, but we forget about this carbon footprint, which means every digital solution needs a lot of energy. So this is the question of balance between the impact of the GDP bringing money, and second about the impact of the environment. In Europe, we see we are a little bit advanced, because like the Italy, the Spain want to limit the number of the tourists, because I know Barcelona, because I cooperate with Axio, so Emma Vendrell and
no, we don't want to limit tourism.
Yes, it's a
No.
Venice. You for example, to restrict.
We would like to improve the quality of tourism. That's another question.
It's the quality of tourism, but also the quality of life of the people living in the place, which is touristic place. Which is, for example, I discussed with the Venice. I cooperate with the Emilia Romagna. And in many places, for example, they said, okay, the tourists make they bring the money, but in the same time they spoil the quality of life of the natural people. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy. The second thing is about the development of the sustainability and the immersive. It's a question of the balance about the privacy and that what we discuss about being immersive. So this is also the people, you know, as you mentioned, Katie, probably you had a solution, you know, to protect privacy of people. This is very, very important. And the problem from my point of view, because the question was about the legal regulations, and also Dolores mentioned about it. So this is the problem that there is lack of people who has like a general or the broad landscape in their mind. So they think about the technology or the traditional development. It's really difficult to find the people, especially in Africa, when they really struggle for money. And for example, for Tunisia, right now the tourism is about more than 80% than GDP. Probably, I don't want to, but I suppose it's really important sector. So they want to bring as many people as possible. And thinking, for example, the regulation for the tourism as immersive, as a sustainable, right now is not very important issue. So okay, let's make tools for the digital tourism. Okay, so the portals, information, something like that. It's not about it's not about the improving the tourism. It's about the improving the information about the tourism. So it's not real strategy. The same, I know Africa East is a different level, but for Africa West, they really struggle for tourism. And there is also the problem. The problem is also the horizontal, the vertical relations between in many African countries. So everything is, you know, if the ministry says, one thing that everyone should follow the rule. There is no really bottom-up, top-down cooperation. They don't meet in many times, you know, many times they don't meet in the middle. They are not able to make commitments and make some to bring information from the stakeholders of the touristic. The all gesture of the touristic tourist sector, but the hotels, the restaurants, their little work really aside. And the same. So for me, from my point of view, because the question was in the beginning about the strategy. They really want to bring as many right now. I see that they want to bring as many people as possible without any consideration about the sustainability, impact of the environment, etc., etc. So it's a little bit sad, but I think even in Europe, as we mentioned, I work with Ludek Kürk, which is cooperate with the Alpdesk. So it's you know, Alpdesk. Alpdesk. This is I think this is the big platform set in Switzerland to help the especially for the hiking and the skiing. So it's about to make the immersive experience for development. Even though it's more about the information and about they use it for the analytics, as was mentioned, it was not real connection with the experience of the people. So I don't know from my point of view, and the guy who travels and look for some services in Africa, in Guinea-Conakry, in Ivory Coast, in Ghana, in Togo, in Tunisia, in Morocco. I don't see as much efforts and the support for me as a tourist. So this is that when I discuss, it's still discussion about okay, what can we do to bring more people, and about the services for them. It's okay, we will bring them into the desert and give them the camel, and they will go, they will travel or spend the night spend the night in on the desert. In 2 weeks, I've been last month. Last month I've been to Tunis, and I discussed with the big culture center which is located in Tunis, and they had quite nice. They tried to connect the culture into the tourism and this virtual culture, and they start to do some like using VR to present the environment, but it's really basic. So Katie mentioned about this augmented reality or the mixed reality to use to make the experience more rich and to bring additional information. They think about just using the VR into the presenting. Just, you can stand in the middle and you can turn around and you see what is the landscape. So it's a really I think the basic experience, but I think we are forced to think about the technology, and we need more people who will try to catch all the aspects of the development of technology, not only like a technology-oriented people, and then we will try to figure out which is purpose of this technology. I really praise the presentation of Tarek. I think this is but it was also underlined that it's not much integrated tools. So I think this is the next way, is to make the integration a lot of tools, which we, for example, we propose using drone technology we right now open the Excellence Center in Sfax. So we want to use drone technology for the also agriculture and tourism purpose. We work about the evaluation, not to using the satellites, because sometimes it's very expensive. In the small area, it's sometimes more cheap and affordable to use the drones. So I think this is, but still it's this actions are more scattered. It's as Dolores mentioned, that there is no the one strategy plan for development. Everyone want to implement something, but there is no comprehension. I don't see, sorry, maybe not no. I don't see
I was about to comment on that, but thanks a lot, Marcin, for bringing this also critical user-driven perspective, because sometimes we speak about like the stakeholders and we forget that tourists as well as stakeholders are one of the most important pillars as well.
For example, for the last word, it's for me as a business tourist. For example, the business tourism is also very important. So for example, if I look, for example, for the purpose or the business assistance, virtual assistance for me as a tourist, business tourist in such place, it's also that I think that the niche that could be improved. That's all.
Perfect. I get actually many insights from what you were mentioning, Marcin, as well, because from my experience, I've been consulting the Ministry of Tourism in Indonesia for a while. And actually, I've seen like in many places, not only in Indonesia, but also across Africa and Europe, whenever like a destination is dealing with a tourist as a fresh dollar bucket, they lose actually this. They do not get actually that. And when they translate the number of tourists in terms of the GDP contribution, they lose more tourists on the longer term. They might get more on the short term, but on the longer term, they lose that. So that's why like I've seen like a lot of movements, basically from what we have been harvesting in this interesting conversation, movements around like slow tourism, conscious tourism, local communities engagement instead of relying on typical tour operators. So this is actually taking over. And even like with the stereotype of the camel tour, I think this could be one of the very interesting conversations that we take also later, that basically the typical tour operators sometimes deal with these kind of touristic destinations as like stereotyped camel tours, as you're mentioning, Marcin. But actually, when you go on the other side, the alternative tourism operators, you'll see that they can immerse these kind of tourists into the local communities and promote for the heritage, cultural awareness, like what Lena was mentioning earlier. So this is integrated as part of the touristic package. So thanks a lot for that, Marcin. I'll go to Hamid as well, like, because Hamid, you are the chapter president of the VR AR Association in Nigeria, right? And I think speaking about immersive technologies is interesting here, but also would love to hear your like insights about how can we create impact using smart tourism.
Yep, awesome. Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, again, just I'm the chapter president for the VRA Association in Nigeria. The VRA Association, just a little bit of background, is a global association, across most countries. We have in France, we have in Italy, and then we also have in Nigeria, which I'm currently leading. Then I'm also the founder and lead engineer at SwiftXR, which is a no-code platform for building augmented and virtual reality solutions, like super easy to use. So I'll start with some of the use cases, and again, I'll be referencing a lot of stuff from Michael, and also from the association, we've seen quite a number of companies already leveraging immersive technology, for tourism. There's this really popular project in Nigeria called Virtuality Africa, where they partnered with a museum, and then they were able to convert, literally all those physical assets in the museum into digital copies on the web, in VR and in AR, and then they can now start to export those products outside. So you really, you could be anywhere and not even in Nigeria, and you start to consume some of this content, and that is some of those use cases, that they were looking for. So I mean, I do agree in the fact that there's need for more companies to start looking into it. I think one of the major problems that I see in Africa, I know South Africa again has been really up in the high take of AR VR. More in an industrial level, because we have some of our partners in South Africa, and they are really doing good stuff with AR VR. But then over here in Nigeria and some parts in West Africa, we see it more used in consumer. So South Africa tend to use it more in industry, which I would say is actually what we need. We need like actual valid use case to drive this thing. So we need more companies that are actually willing to experiment, and it starts with people like us in this panel. Can we get back and can we talk to some of these our local agency, tourism centers, museums, and trying to see, okay, how can we incorporate AR element, VR element, immersive elements into some of what we export and do. Then in terms of capacity, again, this is one of the reasons why we started SwiftXR, and the goal behind it was to see how can we enable anyone from anywhere create AR VR content. So you have your 3D asset instead of spending as I think it was Shilabulela said or Ken said, which was around the price it takes trying to build AR VR solution. Even Michael said that it's not easy. It needs work. So our thought was trying to see how do we get to now streamline some of this process, make it as easy as the way you create a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word or a presentation. And by doing this, we're starting to see more companies like one activation we did earlier for Marriott, where during the COVID pandemic, they had this they wanted to launch the hotel in Lagos in Ikeja, and then they just converted literally the old hotel into like 3D, like true 3D interior. So people that were not actually able to visit the hotel could actually see this virtual copy of of the hotel prayer, and these are actually what we need, and and I think we're actually trying to enable that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, but Hamid, I think the question is not only about how easy is integrating or rolling out these technologies in local communities, but also there is another important topic about the capacity in terms of jobs, because and this is a general topic about using technologies, right? So tourism is known as one of the labor-intense industries globally. And by integrating technologies, this might affect also the employability, right? Or not? What
Not really. I would say, I mean, there's that scare, but the way I see AR VR is it's an enabler. I mean, I'm going to go back and reference what Michael said. No matter how much you explore the Dubai, in VR, you still need to visit that, you still need to visit it physically. So it's more about like enabling people, just making that touch point better. No matter what you do virtually, I don't think virtual stuff can actually 100% replace physical stuff. So no matter what you do, you're just trying to, again, it's more about converting sales. How can I get people to visit this place more often? How can I get someone to enjoy this content more often? So, I do agree that there could be some little loss in job, but then I don't see it as a major challenge. Instead, I see immersive technology as an enabler, just to get more people engaged in that space, not necessarily a replacer.
Interesting. Thanks a lot, Hamid. That's very interesting to hear also your perspective on that regards. I think just checking time, and I think we have like almost 5 minutes for that, but like I would like actually to have a quick round from everyone, like on a tweet format. What is your takeaway from this interesting conversation? Because I really wish for this conversation to go on, and this panel is just like an appetizer from my point of view. Coming next. So what is your tweet format from everyone? So we can get from everyone, and then afterwards we'll hear from Ken about how do you envision us actually moving on as well. I'll leave it like free format, like, so who would like to kick off this tweet?
Yeah. Can I jump on it then, Ahmed? And I would like to piggyback on what Ahmed said about the job loss. It's not going to even cut the job loss. It's going to even increase more, because it depends on the technology you want to use at certain times. Like for now, we're thinking of live streaming. There's a company in South Africa during the lockdown. These guys were offering as cheap as a $200 for a safari drive in real time for you and your family. If you want a private tour, they were charging as much as $3,000 to have a ranger in his truck drive you, and then your children can say, oh, I want to see this giraffe here, I want to see the lion over there. And it was just a business model that I thought was really impressive. Like, you can do live streaming, you can augment it with virtual reality, and it's still going to create jobs for people in the communities. I don't have to go there. I can teach or train somebody in a local village and tell them, this is what I need to see, this is what I need to showcase. And before you know, you're employing people to tell the stories of their communities without me coming there. Even with the use of WhatsApp video call, I have seen people showcase the destinations they've gone within Nigeria to say, have you seen this place before? Oh, we are in this party. Okay. There's this masquerade festival going on. And just that cheap technology of using a WhatsApp video call, you can start engaging locals to start earning little money just to show you around with their own little phones. So I think it can still bring more about, helping communities, creating little jobs, even if you take away here, I need to.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot.
That we can build something out of. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a long tweet, but I like it. Thank you. So I would like to take the lead, sharing an insight, a takeaway, or a practical step moving forward.
Okay, I will take it.
Please.
If it should be like a tweet, it should be: tourism is good. It's a sound industry. It can generate a lot of welfare, industrial revenues, and economy for the territory, for the destinations, but it should be very well managed. Digitalization and sustainability are key pillars, but a balance among the territory, the willingness, public-private cooperation are fundamental.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dollars. So who would like to take the mic?
Yeah,
Please.
Also, what I believe after all these deliberations, what I got is collaborations. It's important, and getting all the stakeholders from the public sector to the private sector, getting them involved, and also make sure that we connect with the suppliers of this technology that we need. Some of the small business people, they don't even know where to access the technology that you need to continue with the smart system. So I thank Ken so much for coming up with this. I think it was just an eye-opener, and we need more of this to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sia Bulila, and I hope I pronounced it properly.
Yes, thank you.
Lina, I saw you like opening the mic. Please go on.
Yes, my tweet I think would be short. I would say that African smart tourism is creative, is sustainable, can be accessible.
Short and precise. Thank you so much. So, Michael.
Yeah, I mean,
Hamid, please go on.
Okay, good. I'd say we have, I mean, based on what Beloy said, we have similar issue outside with network. So it's just about how we can best use what we have to our advantage.
Nice. Thank you so much, Hamid. To the point as well. Marcin, I know that you're leaving now, but would you like to share your tweets before leaving?
I think I used too much time of your time for my speech. So I really believe in that. I mentioned that from my point of view, we should look for the leaders, the people who will gather people. They will understand the process. They shouldn't be as technology oriented as it used to be, because this is the from my point of view in a different project also. This is the vision of the tech guys. They come and said, if you introduce this technology, it will solve all your problems, and we give you the data they will never use at all, or we use once. So I think this is important to understand the context about the between the amount and the relations between the technology, human aspect, and the accessibility, because this is the question always also about the money. Every time the problem is money. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marcin. Katharina.
Well, actually, I would like to emphasize that we tech people, we need to improve our offer to our end customers, because, well, very often it's very difficult to understand what we do. When I talk in my specific technical language about blockchain, about NFTs, about everything, so people are mostly confused. So it's a matter of technological literacy. And that's why such events as this one, even such, let's say, a small seminar, they're very important. And maybe you have noticed that during all events right now dedicated to food, to culture, to real estate, there is a small section dedicated to technology, because the conscience of importance of technology we all already got, but how to approach it we still didn't get. So that's why our goal, it's our goal of technological society, to make our technological world more accessible, because at the end of the day, we work for you, for for tourism, for culture, for medicine, to improve and make the world better. But we are so complicated sometimes, so geek, that it's very difficult to use a common language. So I hope that every next event dedicated to tourism will give opportunity to understand better what can we do for the world of tourism and how we can improve it and make it better. So that's all.
Beautiful, beautiful closing remarks. And for me, I've learned a lot from you guys. Like, you are amazing, and you have done you have drawn actually very interesting insights, all the way from like covering the trends of innovation and the future prospects, and how these kind of tech initiatives are taking over. But also we had the other side speaking about like how sustainability could be or should be actually considered as part of the equation, because we cannot focus on smart without sustainability. And then that's why we have to have like a strategic framework of where we would like to be in the near future, and how these kind of impact indicators should be designed hand in hand by everyone in the stakeholders, by everyone who is in charge or having a stake in that, because that's important. And this is the only way to build actually a sustainable roadmap for what's coming. So for me, like having these multidisciplinary discussions, perspectives, collaborations are the essence. And for me, collaboration doesn't happen if there's no kind of human connection happens, right? So it's very important to keep connected and keep this conversation going. And this is how we can reach like understanding, and then this understanding could lead to actionable items to steer the whole conversation forward. And eventually will be celebrating unlocking the smart tourism in Africa. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you, and I'll give the floor to Ken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been quite a very amazing discussion today. It's quite interesting to hear from speakers from different regions, from different continents, I said. And of course, looking at all the contributions today, it's been so fascinating to see that we can actually unlock smart tourism in Africa if all stakeholders come on board, and this is part of what the ADNet is trying to facilitate, because before the platform started in year 2020, we looked at how could we contribute to growth in Africa. Because I've been in several projects in Africa, but some sectors are just quiet, and we need to stimulate, be an influencer, and the reason why, from what we have all discussed today, there's still lots to be done, and already our platform is already mobilizing some consortium. We have consortium already for smart tourism in Africa. There are a lot of partners on board with us in the fashion and creative sector as well. We are motivating this and discussing with the authorities, discussing with investors to see these sectors must not be left behind. I thank you all for your contributions, and I'm still very curious about connectivity. I know we are going to get it right. There are so many constellations out there. They are even in Dubai recently, in the last few days, they are demonstrating, because they have vast areas in the desert. How could we connect most of these places economically? And that is why we are demonstrating new innovation with the satellites and drones interconnecting. And these are new innovations. And I'm sure all these are part of what is going to empower the tourism sector, because the issue of connectivity with the things of the past, starting from next year, because the innovators, they are really brainstorming on how to really get connectivity to the very deep remote regions of the world and in Africa. Thank you all for sharing this, and I'm sure that we have with our experts on board, with Dolores, you are also sitting on the working committee of smart tourism in Europe. We want to see collaboration with Africa. How can we make this happen? And you were also part of the meeting we had some time ago, which Ludek and co were also part of this. You saw the passion from the African players. You know, we like to connect because tourism really, when we look at, there's a lot to share. You know, in Africa we have different scenarios, we have different terrains as compared to Europe. You know, and there's a way we can deploy smart tourism, the technology, you know, to address most of these requirements, you know, and it is an avenue for us to exchange ideas, you know, between Europe and Africa. So I look forward to see how we could really do this. And Sia Bulela, you are also on board with us, and we are looking at this collaboration. We want to see an EU-African, Pan-African demo, you know, smart demonstration in this smart tourism. We don't have to leave it at the discussion level. We need to engage and demonstrate. And this is how, I don't know if somebody wants to contribute to this. Sia Bulele, you want to say something? Because
no, I am not saying anything. I accept collaboration is the new currency.
Okay, thank you so much, and I look forward to the next steps, and definitely on the African Digital Leadership Innovation Platform, we would like to take this forward. I will be connecting with you. I would like to keep this group on the African Digital Leadership Innovation Network, and we'll be connecting back with you to see how we take this forward. I'm so much appreciate all your contributions. They are so passionate. There are a lot of insights, really, and new discoveries, you know, and I'm sure we can all do this together. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the interest. Thank you very much. And we look forward in seeing you again and very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice meeting all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.